Well, this past Tuesday, United had their regular monthly board meeting and ran about 4 hours and 10 minutes. That's the open meeting part.
It was a long one.
And Juanita will tell you, the board president, that they have to stick around after lunch too, right? People forget that.
Yeah, no, we have a closed session that goes all afternoon afterwards. We have some disciplinary hearings that are taking place in the closed board meeting, and then the closed meeting business that we need to do, which are usually legal.
Right. Now, this meeting, the open part, there were a lot of different resolutions, and many of them are, they have to be postponed because of the 30-day rule, but they came due, so to speak, of the final vote.
Right.
Of course, part of that too was the 2018 business plan and reserve plan.
We have a budget.
Yes.
And a reserve plan. So I have to start out by saying, because we always start with member comments, that the speaker cards that we started using this time for the first time worked so well. We had about a dozen speakers. They fill it out just simply with their name and manor number. If they know that they want to just speak in member comments, then that's number 9. And if they want to speak to something that's on the agenda, they put that number down. And our corporate secretary then puts it in the computer, and it comes up on my computer, and I can call on them by name instead of having to people queue up and having to stand in line and wait their turn. When I have these, and she puts them in, number 1, the name and manor number go right on the screen, and we know who's up, and I can call them by name.
I didn't realize you had it too.
It worked very well. Yeah, we now with Granicus have screens in front of us, and the chairman's screen has the people who request to speak.
Fantastic. So that works really well, and if you watched the meeting, you saw that it did, and I think it moved things along a little bit quicker with member comments. There wasn't, what's your name, how do you spell it, that sort of thing.
Right. So we're very pleased. We think that's going to be a big help to both our corporate secretary and to our members and residents, because it's going to make it easier for them to speak. After that, we went to the consent calendar, and we had 3 areas on the consent calendar: the Architectural Control and Standards Committee recommendations, and they approved 7 variations, and they denied 2 and so they also had 1 that was returned to committee because somebody brought in extra information about their variance at the last minute, and that doesn't work at a board meeting. It has to go through the committee. So that was sent back to the committee. We had 4 landscape requests that were denied. 3 were for tree removal, and 1 was for a landscape design. But those, again, all go through committee. We had 2 liens for people who are in arrears for their assessments. And then we got to the unfinished business, and that was a large portion of it.
Yes, it was.
There were 7 items on there, and these are the things that we approved at that meeting. It was the final reading, so the vote, because everything goes from committee to the board for a first reading, 30-day member comments, and then final vote. So up for final vote this time and passed were a motion that we approved implementing fees for missed maintenance appointments. So it really helps our maintenance department when they have to come out to make sure that somebody's there, and people who either forget or say, no, I've got something else I'm going to do, really screw up the schedule.
Right.
So there is now going to be a fee for that. A motion to approve standard manor alteration conditions. We now have a guidebook for people who are going to do manor alterations that helps walk them through the whole process. And then we also had a resolution use of common area for certain improvements with the utilities, because as most people know, we approved a few months ago a resolution that said you cannot use common area for individual use. But we modified that just a little bit because we said that you can put your air conditioner, compressor, your water heater, those types of utilities right outside your manor, which would be on common area, but is still of exclusive use. Another one that was generated a lot of feedback and comment from members was a resolution to remove standard specifications for atrium enclosures between common walls in the Barcelona and the Granada and the Valencias, because we've had some problems with people enclosing their atrium, and that affects the person on the other
Right.
side of the atrium. And it either cuts out their light, their wind flow, whatever. And so now that's not just a standard alteration, and it has to go through the committee as a variance and get approval, and it has to have the approval of the person on the other side.
Right.
So that went through. We approved the hot tub policy that came out through the M&C committee. And then the big ones, we approved the 2018 United Business Plan, and that shows a increase in the assessments of $11.83 per manor per month. And nobody likes assessment increases, but there's so much to do in the village. There are so many things that have been just pushed aside or pushed till next year, or we won't do it now, and we've been putting Band-Aids on and that kind of thing, and this board has said, no, we're going to start doing these, we're going to get them done, even if it means a little bit extra money, because I think people don't mind paying a little extra every month in order to have these improvements go through. And this is things like dry rot and waistline remediation, all of these things for our infrastructure. And then we also did the 2018 reserves funding. We have a very good reserves. We have the highest reserve cap of any of the associations in the village, and we make sure that we stay above that, and we put enough money in reserves every year so that we can function.
And I wanted to mention, because you mentioned this at the meeting, when it comes to the increase in assessment, I forget what portion, $5–6 of that is GRF.
$6 basically is United, and $4 and almost $5 is GRF, and that pays for all of the amenities and everything that they have. We then went to new business, and we had the first reading, and now it's out for 30-day review, and that is a motion to suspend the cable or internet system for those, because that's part of your assessment, and everybody in the village gets it. And we found that's the best way to get people's attention when there are delinquencies, is to suspend that, and then they come back real quick and get that fixed up. And we also had a motion to approve golf cart parking policies and procedures, which are a little bit different, and they have to do with how you can plug in, when you can plug in, and the decals and that kind of thing. And the collection and lien enforcement policy, which we have a wonderful collection agency, ALS, when they go, how long you can be in arrears before it's put into a collection agency, and those kinds of things. And all of these will be in the packet that you get as a member every November. We always put out the budget and the audit and all of the things that affect all of our residents. And the lien policy and the fee policy is one of those things that's in that. And then we had one motion to amend the financial qualifications policy to make them consistent with the bylaws, and primarily that was not a big deal, but it didn't go through the Finance Committee, and the Finance Committee said, hey, it has to do with finances, and so it needs to come to us. So it went back to the Finance Committee, and it'll be brought up at our next meeting. We had 10 committee reports. I just like to say that because everybody doesn't realize how much time board members put in. There are 10 different committees, and then there are 7 GRF committees that all have United members on it. So then we had 7 reports from them. Our future agenda items for our November meeting is we're going to be looking and reviewing a master plan for the sewer and water infrastructure upgrades. So those of you that are really interested in that kind of thing, please come to our meeting and find out what that's going to be. Staff's working very hard to present us with a master plan so that we can make sure that we have the reserves to fund it, and that it's going to go forward in a timely manner, et cetera. So,
and I want to mention that the reason Juanita is saying November meeting is because their October meeting is their annual meeting. And
That's
that's
correct.
where the board members who are elected to the board come on, and then they figure out who's going to be board president and vice president and so on, right?
We do have elections
Yes.
then, yes. However, we did decide, because we don't do business at our annual meeting in
Right.
October, we're going to have a special meeting in October. And it is, and I thought I had it written down here.
I
and
thought it was the
don't.
17th.
That's about right, I was going to say.
I
It's
think
the
so.
middle of the month.
Yeah.
And some of these items, instead of having the ones that are on 30-day notice, then we'll have had 30 days, and we can address those there instead of waiting until the November
Right.
meeting.
It'll be a very
because there'll
specific
be so
meeting,
much
yeah.
else at the November meeting. And so this will just take care of those 7 items,
Yeah.
basically, and get those out of the way.
So the annual meeting is, correct me if I'm wrong, is it taking place in the boardroom?
It's in the boardroom this year. In the
Okay.
past, we've had it in the auditorium,
right.
in the Performing Arts Center, but we find so many people watch it on television that there's not very many people in the audience, and
Right.
it just didn't make sense to take up that whole big auditorium.
Exactly.
And so we're going to
Yeah.
the boardroom, which of course has better cameras and microphones and all of those kinds
Mm-hmm.
of things, and it will of course still be broadcast.
Yes, it
on-
will.
on VTV.
And we want to remind people that if you haven't done so, remember your ballots are due by the 27th, which is Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
by 5 o'clock. And if you do not mail them in time, which would, to me, would be about 4 or 5 days ahead of time,
Right.
in my opinion, you need to walk them in.
Right, and there is a box
The box is
downstairs in the
downstairs,
community
yes.
center at the reception desk where you can deposit your ballot.
Right.
And it's so important. People think, well, it's uncontested. We really don't need to vote this year. And that's not true, because according to state law, we have to have a certain quorum of ballots back,
Mm-hmm.
or the whole vote is invalidated and we have to do it all over again. And that's very costly. It
Right.
costs us about $20,000 just to do the election. And so that would be in vain, and we'd have to do it again. So even if you don't mark one person on that ballot, send in the ballot. Or you can mark, you don't have to vote for all 4. You can vote for 1 or 2 or whatever.
Right.
And that's fine, but please get your ballots back.
All right, very good. And we will see you again at the annual meeting, right?
Absolutely.
I might see you before then, we'll see. You never know.
I'm going on vacation, so
You are-
you won't see me right away.
Okay, well, have a great vacation.
Thank you.
And thank you, as always, for coming on. We appreciate it.
Ken.
Thank you, Juanita. Take care. And again, that United meeting will be rebroadcast next Wednesday at 6 o'clock, meaning it'll go to a little bit after 10 o'clock. So it's about 4 hours and 10 minutes, and we'll be right back.